The Grappling Hour is brought to you by BioPro Plus, the faster, easier, and safer non-synthetic alternative to painful anti-aging and hormone treatments. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcast, Rapid Sparza, coming to you with a great guest. I don't want to waste any time. We've had a few connection issues here, I'm not going to lie, but our guest is worth it, and here is why. One, if our guest, you remember her the last time she appeared on the show, when she showed up here, I asked her what it would be like to win ADCC, and she told me she couldn't even think about it. You just got to have your eyes on the prize. It would be something immeasurable, something incredible that you can't even picture until you do it. And guess what? She did it. And not only did she do it, she did it in epic fashion. And we here at this show, we're so happy, so proud of her. I'm so happy that she's here to get her flowers. But I also want her to tell her story because I always get excited for our friends when they win. And that's no different here than when you look down, you see somebody who you know works hard, but when you see Amy Campo end up winning ADCC, the first question you got to ask her is, Amy, how did it feel to reach that mountaintop?
Oh, well, thank you for such a glorious introduction. How did it feel to win ADCC? At what point, really? There's so many emotions going on through different points of competing and even afterwards. What did it feel like to reach success? What did it feel like to be done and to know that I won? It's cool. How do I explain this? I was done fighting. I was a little sad. I found a spot where, while I was competing, where I was living in the present and I was enjoying fighting. And there was a little bit of a step down when I was done. And then aside from that, I was super happy because, I beat myself, and that's the biggest thing, is to beat yourself. And then I beat the tough tournament, and I was happy. I'm proud of myself for nothing being able to break my mental focus, and nothing being able to break my willpower. And I think I really triumphed in those things before I could even triumph in the tournament.
Good perspective. Why don't we talk about where we left off? Because when we did leave off, you didn't finish competing. You were still going into some camps. I saw you were keeping yourself very active. You were still doing some tournaments. So tell me what that preparation felt like from, I guess, where the last time we left off, from you winning trials.
Oh, okay. So I had a couple more tournaments after trials. Like, we were getting ready for the GI World. We did either before or after that, we did another couple other tournaments, like American Nationals. I know we did Denver Open. So I just had a line of tournaments planned, and so there wasn't all right, go take a week off. That doesn't happen usually anyways. It was just like, okay, back to life, back to training, back to learning, back to growing, back to discipline. I don't usually take a break afterwards. Like, I might go home and relax for a day or something, but then I'm usually just back at training the next day, because that's how I live. Like, they say BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is martial art, but they also say it's a lifestyle. It's a way you live. And when you live like that, competing and being ready to compete is easy. Or, well, easier.
What was one of your favorite moments during the camp? Because camp can be grueling, camp can be tough, but you seem to be somebody who responds well to a challenge. So what was one of your favorite moments during that preparation?
So one, I like training hard already, and I like finding new limits. But this is probably besides the thing. The first thing that comes to mind when you ask what I liked about the training camp, um, and it's not your typical "I liked this" because it's not something that actually feels good. I liked being humbled. There was a spot in the training camp where um, I was I was too worried about not losing anything, like not losing a position, not losing a transition, and I was so caught up in like I can't lose, I'm not allowed to lose. And I had to have one of my teammates like kind of put it in perspective because like, there's like, hey, you're supposed to be suffering training. You're supposed to be losing. This is where you get smashed. So when you go out there, you can do your best. And it took me a little bit over a week or so to kind of like think about that and start apply it into my training that, hey, this if I'm losing a battle here, that's good. That's the training you want. I mean, you don't want to lose, but you want it to be hard enough to put you on the brink to make yourself over new. And it's not a feel good process, but that's what I liked.
What were those competitions feeling like? Because to me, I'm so hyper focused. I run a risk between, oh, I don't want to overexert myself, but I do want to get those reps in and especially those competitive reps in. So what were you feeling like as you were entering those tournaments? And did they prove to be invaluable as you were starting to close down camps?
I think they were very valuable for sure. I think being prepared to compete has a certain amount of focus and aggression that goes into it all the time, and I like being held at that level. And I felt like one tournament, its preparation and um, its preparation led into the next tournament. Like they were each a stepping stone that further prepares me in every way for the next one. And so I felt like when you go off of one, you find momentum and that, like I said, you become living in a competitive athlete mindset and with those kind of habits. And the momentum builds, and you're able to just go full force into the next one.
So, obviously, there's a lot of spectacle that went into this one. Did at any point it become overwhelming because it was so many people? We're looking at 10,000 ish people there. What did it feel like in the buildup as you actually went to it? Did you go to the ADCC Open? What was it like that week for you?
Okay. Um, yes and no. ADCC, of course, has this aura about it with the way they present their tournament, where it's way more hype, it's way more of a show, especially this one. It's a little similar to like the hype you put behind a big stadium game or MMA fights. Like there's a different level of space. Like it's just different. It's just more. Um, so I think I noticed that. How do I explain ADCC? Really, how do you put this experience into words? This was like one of a kind event that has happened. How am I supposed to explain this? Um, it was great, but I noticed the atmosphere. But I think when I'm presented in unfamiliar situations, as that level of atmosphere is still unfamiliar to me, I think I go more to my space. Like I how do I say that? I just didn't let it get inside my head about where I was, who I was fighting, that all these people were here. When I came to fight, I come and I'm in this space. And this is the space I take care of the most so that I can live there, so that I can perform there, so I can create, I can become something there. So when I walked in there, yeah, you notice. It's kind of hard not to notice that there's all these people around you, that there are lights, that there's freaking fire blowing out of something right to you. It's hard not to notice those things. But I think I knew what I was supposed to do. I knew why I was there, and I never forgot that. So as I did everything else I was supposed to, I kept my eyes focused on the mission, and that is all that was required of me.
So obviously the focus is good. You're in a good space. You mentioned fire, pyrotechnics, all this sort of razzmatazz that doesn't seem necessarily like something, that I would define as something that has to go with you. But the bracket reveal was interesting in that all of you were pushed out, and that's not something that you really see for jiu-jitsu folks. So that's really the first time I'd seen you on camera when things were going. So did you know who you were paired up with? What was that backstage element like? Because to me, there was a little bit of shock. So I didn't know if the athletes knew who they were paired up with, or if they were backstage and they had kind of been told when to be cued. Like, that part was unclear to me.
No, we did not know until about the 3 seconds before they called us out. So we were all backstage, and you had to walk up the stairs and go out onto the stage to meet who you were fighting. And we were a little separated off to each side of the stage, so we kind of knew who was on each side, but not fighting. So we had all of 3 seconds to hear our name announced, and then we had to walk up and face our person. So I imagine for most people, and it's probably good we had to walk. I feel like most people would be like, you can either sit there fighting this person, what does that mean? But instead of not having time to think, we're like, oh, we have to walk up and go somewhere and be somewhere. And that was probably helpful for some people. I didn't really feel it with that. I was fine with it.
So you were the second match that was announced. We're fans of Elizabeth as well. I thought that was going to be a fire match. I was super stoked for it. But of course, it starts with Gabby Garcia and Nikki. So that means already in your head, you already know what your bracket kind of looks like just from that first person being announced, and then they announce you. So when you start hearing those two things, does that start to tell you like, okay, it feels like ADCC now? Or are you just so focused on once they announce your opponent, you're like, oh, all right, it's me and Elizabeth. Let's start thinking. Let's start going there. Like, what is happening with you on that?
I had already anticipated who I was going to end up fighting. So I fully anticipated on fighting Gabby. I didn't know who my first was going to be because they had some bracket reveals, not reveals, but like suggestions, like what they thought was going to happen that came out. And it's very similar to how they called them out. So I wasn't super like surprised at all with who I was fighting. I was surprised that I was fighting Elizabeth first, considering somebody told me that ADCC doesn't like usually do rematches. So I'm like, oh, I'm surprised they gave me Elizabeth first. Like that would okay, whatever. Like we fought twice this year already. We can again. So I was a little surprised with that. As far as like how I felt, kind of understanding how the brackets were being revealed, they told us that they were gonna like I basically was under the impression that all of it was mixed up, so I wouldn't know where I sat in the bracket. So I didn't know if they'd mixed that up. So I just didn't think anything of it when I went out. I mean, I didn't realize either the brackets are right behind me. That was the point of the bracket reveal. I didn't even turn and look, and I don't think anybody else did either. Like, oops. So yeah, that didn't bother me, or it didn't play a factor in how I thought. I figured I was gonna end up going with Gabby, um, and that's all I knew about the tournament is I knew I was gonna fight Gabby.
And we'll get there. But I do want to ask, we asked you what the incoming spectacle felt like, but it does take a little bit of time before we see the ladies compete. So you get to see some of the guys go first. What does that feel like? Because the next day, obviously you have time in between, but what does it feel like kind of watching the beast go on. And sometimes you see favorites going out, you see things. So you're obviously witnessing the spectacle that is ADCC live.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I got to be there and got to watch all the stuff. Most of the time though, until I was done fighting, I didn't really I didn't relax until I was done fighting. And I didn't even watch very many of the matches until I was done fighting. I maybe saw like 2 matches, maybe, because I was just focused on what I was there for. Um, but it was really nice. In the back, they did have like TVs everywhere that had the matches going on. So if you wanted to, you could be involved and you could be looking at the fights because we're all in the back. Um, but same old tournament story where you're waiting for forever until you fight, and then you warm up because you think you're gonna go, and then you're not gonna go yet, and then you cool down, and then you warm up again, and then yeah. But that's normal. I anticipated that. Just stay relaxed until you have to get ready to fight, and then get warmed up and you go.
Let's talk about that first match. Let's talk about you and Elizabeth. Did it go kind of the way you thought it was? And did it kind of help to already have that match in, like you mentioned, because you were vaguely surprised the day before that they were going to rematch you guys together, but that does make you feel pretty good, I'm sure, going into that competition, especially as big as that is.
I don't know if I would say that actually. Like I feel like we're both very familiar with each other, but I know that I didn't take her lightly, not for 1 second. Like I know that's what's the quote? Who quotes this? Danger is real, fear is a choice. Danger is still real. So why would I take, especially if she's come from a loss, if she's coming back with a vengeance, why would I take that match any less seriously just because, oh, I won once earlier this year or twice earlier this year? I didn't take it any less seriously. But I did know how far I was able to get each fight. I was able to get a little bit farther and a little bit farther and figure out a little bit more. And I honestly, I started trying more because I was realizing more was working. And then I got to find so many new positions with her in that match than I have in my previous fights. And once you realize that it can be done, it's like, how far can I go? And so like I ended up mounting and I had her elbows above her head and I was like, I'm here. Look, I want an armbar. And I set up the worst armbar I've ever done. Because I was just excited. She's like, oh, and pulls her arm out. I was like, yeah, that was dumb on my part. But yeah,
Hold
we
on.
ended up
What
like,
makes that the worst armbar? Because to everybody at home, I don't think that's what crossed my head when I was seeing it.
well, look, my chest was way separated from her. I didn't have the arm like laced or locked at all. I just like, oh look, maybe I can just grab her elbow just a little bit and she'll just turn on her side for me. Like I was just like, whoa, armbar. She just slipped down. I was like, that was stupid. I blew my shot. Like it was good though. Yeah, we got to be in a lot new positions. Like I got to ride in that reverse triangle and I got to look for the Kimura. And I'm doing these things and I'm like a little surprised that I'm getting to them. And I'm like, oh wait, is this going like what? I shouldn't be surprised, but I suppose I was because I don't know, maybe I didn't believe in myself as much as I should.
I don't know. I mean, listen, I can't tell you what you were thinking. I can tell you from our perspective, I definitely can see moments where you get excited, you're making something happen that you wanted to have happen. So there may be something internally happening that we have no clue, we're not privy to. But to us at home, I was like, oh, she's really excited. This is working for her. I see you smile and I see you kind of in that space. However, you're still an assassin. So I don't think that you just kind of rest easy in it. But I still laugh when you're sitting here being like, ugh, the worst armbar I've ever done. And it's still at the same point, like, the rest of us were like, it's just a good match. So we were very happy for you when we were watching that one live. And the good news is you're winning. at this point. So
Yes.
when do you know that you have this?
I think I made sure to stay at a spot where I knew I had it the whole way through, which is like the goal. Um, but I still, until the match is over, it's not over. So I still made sure, okay, I think I'm in a spot where I'm winning, but I need to keep this up and not make a mistake or anything here because it could easily go the other way. So until the fight was done, I didn't relax. I guess the last 30 seconds when I she got out of the armbar, which she should have. Um I don't know, there was like 30 seconds left. I knew I had it and it was just like she was like, of course they're gonna be desperate. She was looking for my leg and I was just like, my leg, you're not getting this. I guess the last 30 seconds I knew it was in the bag, but not to stop.
That's great. Now you mentioned up until that you actually got to compete, you weren't watching anything. So does that also include your competitors? Because I'm pretty sure I don't remember the exact order, but it felt like Gabby went first with Nikki. So did you get to see any of your opponents, or do we go back into tunnel vision on the job at hand?
I went right back into tunnel vision. I mean, I know it was like that was it for the day, but I still just went right back into doing what I needed to do.
And I have to ask, is it weird to have just one match like for one day? Because to me, I don't know that I would feel warmed up. Like to me, for something that has such importance, I know obviously it's kind of cool that you advance, you make it to day two, but what is the mentality switch from day one to day two like?
Um, so I made this mistake once before at a tournament where between day one and day two, I relaxed too much and I had a lot harder time warming up, not physically, but mentally warming up for the tournament. So I made sure not to do that ever again because I need to be ready to fight regardless of when I sleep, eat, rest, whatever. I need to be ready to fight the whole time until I'm done. So I didn't relax in between day one and day two. Um, I think I might have seen a another fight while I was there, but then we just took off, got ready to just kept going, I guess. Did that answer your
Is there
question
any
good enough?
it does because again, I I'm a weirdo in that sometimes even when I roll with one person, I don't always feel like I'm warmed up. I think this might just be because I'm old. Like
Right.
when I roll with somebody like at a gym and they're like trying to go hard and I've only had like one kind of warm up roll, I'm always like, hold on, hold on. Don't make me go into attack mode. I'm not there yet. And then when they do see me go a little bit harder, I'm always like, you did this to yourself. Listen, I'm not competing at ADCC though. I'm just trying to wrangle these goons. I just wonder what it feels like to have that space in between the 2 days. So what are you doing? If you say that you don't want to let your mentality get too relaxed, how do you ride that? Like, is it through eating? Is it through watching some TV? Is it through just alone and reflection? Or is it just hanging with your coaches and trying to be as relaxed but dialed in as possible?
Yeah, kind of like that. So to answer your other question really quick, yes, it is hard to get warmed up for just one match. Like you have to warm up a lot, I feel like, for the first one. Like I feel like if my heart rate isn't up for 20 minutes, my blood and my circulatory system isn't warmed up to be able to be as explosive as I need for fighting. So I personally have to warm up a lot for the first fight, and it does seem like this is just for one fight because after the one fight, then I really feel like I'm warmed up and ready to go. Now I've really put everything into application. And then how do I stay relaxed in between but stay dialed in? Right. Going back to disciplined lifestyle, you just don't yeah, you keep your mind is on track for what you need to do and you're not doing anything that allows you to get too comfortable. So if I watch something, no, I didn't watch anything. I didn't watch any TV. Everything that I was doing had a purpose and had a focus, and I just always kept myself, um, if I was doing something, engaged in what I was doing at that time. If I wasn't relaxing so much that I was like, oh, I want to just sleep, or wouldn't that be great to get out of this anxiety? I think more than any physical thing I could do, the mentality was not to allow myself to go somewhere comfortable and just apply that control alt paste, apply that to everything.
That is such a tough thing to navigate. And kudos to you for being able to find what works for you, because I know my brain, when I get that way, I don't want anybody near me. I'm not a very pleasant person. Like this guy, joking guy, nice guy. I'm not the same when I do sports. And so a lot of times, nobody on my team has seen me compete. So whenever they're asking me, they're like, hey, would you go compete? I was like, you would not like that guy. I promise you, that dude is not jokey. He doesn't have time for you. And they're like, really? And I go, I promise you, it's just not the same. It's just because I grew up as a kid. I think in some way that I relate to you in that the task has to be done. Like, you don't get to really like celebrate or like go too early to be happy about something that hasn't happened yet. So that when you spoke about that the last time with me, it took me a while where I got off the call with you and I go, wow, that's really cool. She told me her perspective. And it wasn't until I was training a little bit later and somebody talked about competition that I was like, oh my God, that's why I related to it. So I thought about it a little bit after the
Mm.
fact and I go, I know who that person is. I've been there. And it's so cool to see that that works for you and that you're able to stay in that pocket, because I know how hard it can be, especially if it
Not comfortable.
is detrimental, because you get so dialed in that you don't allow a certain amount to be, or you become blind to certain things. So it's a very difficult thing to do. And I have all the respect in the world for your ability to control that.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not comfortable. And I feel like I recognize that it's not comfortable. And I feel like as human beings, we're like seeking comfort. We're seeking efficiency and seeking comfort, especially. And that's leading up to the competition. That's always how it is. There's like this level of discomfort that's always there. And that has to be maintained to be able to allow yourself to fight and be ready for whatever pain comes with fighting. You just have to be uncomfortable. Yep. And then holding it out for
Absolutely.
2 days is like, all right.
Well, it's also
But
why. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
this is so exciting to me. Um, yes, that's uncomfortable, but I played with my perspective because I considered the word diligence. Do you know what the definition of the word diligence is? Diligence. Oh, where's my notebook? I could just read it to you.
I would
Diligence
love to see
is
that. Yes, please.
it is consistent and persistent work or effort that is done in a manner like you love it. That's like kind of mixing two definitions. The first one is the normal definition. The word diligence stems from the word diligere, which I think is Greek or something, and that means to love your work specifically. So I kind of put them together. But yes, I remembered to love what I was doing. And I know it's not comfortable, but I remembered to love what it was and what I was doing. I was literally backstage before I fought Gabby, and I was anxious, or I was anticipatory, not nervous, not timid. I was anxious or anticipatory to just go out and fight already. It's normal for competing. But I'm surprised I didn't do this sooner, because that would have made all the difference in the world if I did this sooner. But I told myself, Amy, stop. This is exactly where you want to be. This is exactly what you want to be doing. This is where you do your best work. This is where you are comfortable. This is what is making you happy. And this is going to be the best fight you've ever had. And as soon as I thought that, any anxiety that I had just left. Same thing that was where my nervousness was I was left with this excitement, and I was left with this drive to just see what I could do, to eat and be all that I could. And like I said for the trials interview, I was freed.
You looked it, and you know it's so great. I don't know that other people always have this perspective. I do feel lucky to myself and to people who I know who watched the show or who saw that clip. You got so many great notes. It was so funny. Literally, the minute you won that clip where you talked about being free, I got a whole new group of people who were liking that post. So, like, the minute people were looking you up and they're like, I want to know more about Amy, let's go see what she's got. They saw that clip of you and they put one and one together. And there were more people who were commenting on that post from months ago and just being like, yo, that's what you needed to win. You go, girl. That's awesome. And I was so happy to see all those people see that perspective that you were so nice to share with us. But more importantly, you exuded that. And I want to talk specifically about the Gabby match in a second, but I did want to interrupt for these two notes. While you were talking, my apologies, I did look up something. Diligence Jiu-Jitsu has not been taken on the internet. So if you're ever looking for a gym name, I'm just saying Diligence BJJ and Diligence Jiu-Jitsu are free. And it does sound pretty cool because it's not nothing. That perspective literally gave you an ADCC championship. The first of many, who's to say? But it definitely worked on that day. So it's something to consider if you ever think of a brand for yourself, because you're right. It's a powerful word. And it's not just that, but people, when they talk about diligence, there's an accountability that's underneath it. That is, you don't get there without being accountable. You don't get that work ethic, that ability to be self-accountable without putting in that output of work and then seeing yourself through on that. So I think that is something that you should commend yourself for, and especially outside of the fact to have that perspective now, it's going to be a gift that you're going to be able to give other people you coach, other people you work with. So I hope that that seeps in, because it's exactly what I heard as you were telling me that.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'd be happy to share it with other people. I love how you talked about accountability with it too, because there's a lot of self when that goal to being diligent mentally and physically. And I think it's really important. And I think it's one of the principles in jiu-jitsu, or not even just in jiu-jitsu, that's one of the principles that transfers over to other aspects of life. You know, jiu-jitsu was the platform I used to learn to control my mind. And then when I get anxious for training, I do that. I remember that I love it. You know, I learned how to do that before my first worlds. I learned to, like, hey, I love this. I love this. This is what I'm gonna be doing. And then I just had the epiphany the other day. I was like, I'm doing this for jujitsu and training all the time. Why am I not doing this for life? Why am I not doing this for school and for other things I don't want to do? I don't want to get out of bed, but you love to be alive. Like, why am I not doing this? So I started doing this after I got to practice it for jiu-jitsu. Now I'm applying it better to the rest of my life.
So the big match comes up. It's you. It's Gabby Garcia. Lots of people on their feet on this one. Lots of people excited. Some people called it an upset. I said, I don't know. When she's that dialed in, it's pretty awesome to watch. What did it feel like during that match?
Exciting for sure. So I knew what I was going to do, and I knew some basic things, like common sense things about jiu-jitsu and fighting somebody bigger. I didn't have a particular strategy for fighting Gabby aside from, like, well, don't get on bottom and move a lot, because if she has to move a lot, she gets tired and I will be less tired. And a couple things like, going to the back for somebody who's bigger is just like, it's just generally an idea of something that works. So I went in with one of those concepts and was just like, okay, that's me. Let the rest play out with the knowledge that I have. So we get to battling for the first 5 minutes, and it's all just like head pummeling. It's all just clinching, and me just getting used to her size and her power, and being a really good posture and finding a good base so that I didn't get pummeled over. And I was surprised to find that I was able to do that. Maybe not surprised, but I was surprised that I was handling it well, and was like, oh, this isn't so bad. This is doable. Okay. So I kept going. As the points mark hits, then it's like, okay, now you have to be a little bit more like you can get an advantage in it, and that can give you the fight. So now you're just becoming aware of points. But the same thing goes on. I started being a little bit more active and trying a little bit more, because at first it was just like, well, don't get pummeled, don't get pummeled, don't get pushed down. I knew my coach told me that she uses a strategy a lot where she waits for you to shoot on her and then she smashes you pancake. And I was like, well, that ain't gonna happen to me. You don't usually just double leg somebody super big. You usually cut more angles. So I was like, well, I ain't gonna be doing that anyways. And my knees were a little unstable, so I was like, well, I don't think that's a great idea anyways. So scrap that. Um, I went into, yep, just doing more pummeling. I was trying to get to her head, like try to pull her head down, but she's very confident in her size and her ability to resist. So if I pull her head down, she's very confident keeping her legs right in front of me. So I had a great opportunity to shoot, but I was already like, no, not going there. Um, so yeah, pulling her head down wasn't a good strategy. That wasn't working at all. Now I like to work with an underhook and like do different leg trips, different judo throws, but also you don't want to get close to a big person because then they grab you. So noted, not gonna do that either. Um, you go to the back. And one of my favorite takedowns is the arm drag to single leg. And I tried it in the last 3 minutes. I tried it a couple times and got relatively close. It wasn't set up perfectly. And towards the end of the match, I just remember waiting for the perfect time because I didn't want to try it so much that she was really prepared and waiting for it. I waited till the perfect moment to attack it. When she was desperate and driving forward, I remember walking backwards, counting my steps, and literally thinking in my head, 1, 2, 3, arm drag. She goes down. I turn around and I jump right on top ASAP and kept her on the ground. I didn't even realize we were close to the edge of the mat. I knew now that we were off the mat, but this is ADCC and that doesn't matter. In normal fights like that, anyways, it doesn't matter. You keep fighting. So I kept fighting. So I got her down. I locked up head and arm. And I was like, okay, next step, free my foot. Okay, mount. Cool. Like, okay, now I need to submit. Grab her arm and freaking go. So I just started attacking her arm and I kind of fell over. A traditional arm bar, I felt like it had too much space. So I was like, they're stronger. It's easier to resist. So I was like, okay, I'll pass it behind my arm. And I went back, and right as I'm separating her hands, the ref comes and touches me and he's like, okay, time. And I was like, I wasn't sure what was going on. I thought it was close to the end of the match, but I didn't know if this is, are we getting reset now, or is the match over? I think the match is over. But then as soon as I stood up, he's like, I thought the match was over personally. I was like, okay, that had to have been points. He let us continue. That had to have been points. So I put my hand up because I was like, yeah, I got it, I think. And then we go back to the center and he's like, okay, we're gonna go to overtime. And I was like, lame. Really? So I was just kind of like, I mean, if I got to do it, I'll do it. But I was like, did I not get any points for that? Like, you let us be on the ground that long. Did I not get anything for that? Like, they were in the points time. And he's like, oh, hold on. He goes to the table, checks it out. I guess the crowd's freaking out because the points are going up and down. I don't know where I was looking. I think I was I don't even know what I was doing. I think I was just looking at something. I know I went to shake her hand at one point, but I don't even know what I don't even think I saw the score until like my hand was raised. Anyways, yeah, he tells us to get in our spots and he comes back and he raises my hand. Everybody's yelling like crazy, and that was the fight.
I have to ask, there's an iconic photo where you're extending your hand to Gabby to shake her hand. Is that what you were talking about, that you went to go shake her hand in that moment before they had the points revealed?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought if I get points, the match is over. So I was like, okay, well, I'll come up to you and shake your hand because I'm pretty sure I got points. At least I'd be very sad if I didn't, but I'm pretty sure I did. So I'm gonna go shake your hand because I think the match is over. I could have been wrong, but I was just like, I'm just gonna shake your hand anyways. So I go and shake her hand. She doesn't notice me, and then eventually I'm like, "Hey, come to shake my hand." It wasn't like her being like, "No, I'm not talking to you." She honestly didn't notice me, and I was just like, "She's gonna notice me eventually." Okay, she's still not. She's still not. I should probably say something now. This looks bad. So it's just like, hey, shake my hand.
It's similar when someone leaves you hanging and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yep. Do to me. And thank you very much.
Do you wish that you could recover faster from workouts or training? Do you wish you had the same energy, power, stamina, and drive that you used to? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases, sometimes by as much as 50%. And, spoiler, it doesn't come back. It doesn't matter how in shape you are or how good your diet is. Just like death, taxes, and sequels to The Fast and the Furious, they're gonna happen, whether you like it or not. But Raph, how does this affect me, a young jiu-jitsu practitioner who believes he will never get old? Well, growth hormone decreases can cause poor workout performance, slow workout and injury recovery, chronic fatigue, mood swings, depression, body fat, low libido, poor sleep, and a lot more. Though frankly, if you're asking me, that sounds like plenty. That's where BioPro Plus comes in. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription HGH growth hormone treatments. It immediately replaces what your body is not getting, and it does it naturally without the needles, nasty side effects, or the expensive costs of typical synthetic growth hormone treatments. BioPro Plus is not a synthetic drug, so it won't shut off your natural production or cause you to pop on any drug tests. Wink, ADCC competitors. Since 2009, BioPro Plus was only available through doctors, but not anymore. Now you can get BioPro Plus shipped directly to you. No doctor visits, no blood work, no pharmacy. If you're serious about your training, and I hope that you are, go to Bioprotein Tech and use the promo code GRAPPLINGHOUR for $30. We're giving them $30 off to our idiots. Okay, it's their money. Go to Bioprotein Tech and use the code GRAPPLINGHOUR for $30 off. So go check out BioPro Plus today before your competition does.
I just knew that as a memer, somebody who makes memes, I saw that photo and I go, I don't think the context is there. It just looks funny. And especially when you put the context from one side, which is, you know, we felt confident that you won. And as you mentioned, there was a little bit of ambiguity. It's just weird that when you were off that time, we were wondering, like, what's taking so long to figure out? Obviously, these things need people to confer and talk about it. And instead of having anxiety about it, your thing was just to be like, pretty sure I won. No anxiety on my part. Good show to you. Great match. But are we done? And I was like, she's so chill. You're not even phased. And I think that's what you always hope for people. Can I tell you one thing real quick? Which is that, and I hope you take this well, but you just one second, you'll understand where this is coming from. We really want more women's divisions, like a lot. Especially when we spend 2 hours on a Hall of Fame, where I'd much rather watch 2 different divisions for women go through. I'm just saying, or at least going to 16 for women, not important. What I want you to know is that the biggest argument we've always had is you're either under 60K or your other division is It's under 60K, or oops, you're fighting Gabby Garcia. And you just made the argument that, yeah, it's okay. She can be beat, especially by somebody who's not as big as her. So when I saw that, I go, I'm really happy for you, Amy. But man, now I'm thinking about it. They're going to be like, well, I mean, Amy beat her. So I just laughed so hard because I was like, you stared at somebody who everybody thinks has the unfair advantage, and you beat her, and you did it fair and square, and you worked your ass off for it. And I think there's something really commendable about that. And the thing that I know with that memed photo, that iconic photo that spoke to me is that when you did beat her, there's not showboating, there's not anything. Your true essence is a true athlete to extend that hand. And I just thought, that's the person that I have interviewed. That's the person that I know from this side. So I was so happy for you. I thought, obviously the next thing was going to be the win for the entire thing. But that weekend, you had already made a star-making performance. So I knew comfortably you were going to walk out of ADCC being remembered. And I thought that was dope. The win is even doper. But we're getting there now. So you beat Gabby Garcia. What happens now?
So I just went into one of the back rooms with my coach, and actually he wasn't even there half the time. I just went back in there and I was just kind of like processing this experience, because it really, I said in another interview right afterwards, like I know what I need to do, and I came and did what I needed to do. And that very easily could have resulted in me losing the match. And so I never lost the perspective, or I never lost the idea that this could have gone another way, and you were blessed. You made the right choices. You were smart. Um, but I didn't let it go to my head, and of course I didn't relax until my next match. But I just, it was a big experience, and I can feel everybody. I can feel how people feel about this. And as I come out of it too, I see how more people feel about this. Me, I was just in my head, this match was, I'm fighting someone really good. All right, so do my absolute best and accept all that I am. I'm gonna do, and all that I am, do this. And that's why I thought I deserve this. I didn't think I'm going, like I knew I was going to do what I do, but to me, this is another person who was good, and I needed to find what was required of me. So I came out of that. It was really just processing. Okay, when I believed in myself, I found an exponential amount of success, and I didn't realize how close I was to it. And I didn't think about how close I was to it. I just thought, I'm going to keep going further, and I'm going to keep going further. Right before ADCC, I watched King Richard per the request of Drysdale. And he's like, this is your story, and I need you to know this. And how many people have seen this, but it's about two tennis player sisters who become very, very good. And the one, Serena, she's really young, and she's in this finals match against who's the current world champion and has been for a while. And she's got the champion on the run for a good part of the match. And she loses the match, but she didn't know how close she was to winning it. And I thought about that, and I was like, most people, if they haven't succumbed to fear, intimidation, or anxiety before the match, they probably don't know how close they are to winning, how close they are to their success, even outside in life. How many times do we not know how close we are to our success, and we stop? So I made it a point in my fight to keep reaching for the next step in the next round and not stop. And then after the fight, I was just processing that I had, and I felt, how do I explain? Where's the words? I think I felt proud of myself. I felt happy, and I think more than anything, my eyes were opened, because I found new parts of myself. I found new heights. I found more that I didn't know was there. And it was really cool. You know, that's a little scary because you are capable of a lot. And when you finally access that a lot, wow, you're just blown away. So I think I was feeling blown away.
That's amazing. That's really cool. And yet, you go into your final match. I wanted to ask this to try and get an idea of if anybody had a piece of advice throughout the entire ADCC. And I'm not sure if it was here or any other time throughout your experience, even through camp. Was there something that somebody said to you that stayed with you? Because, you mentioned diligence, but that seemed almost like something you found for yourself. I wasn't sure if there was a perspective, a thought, a suggestion, a note that like resonated with you that you were able to kind of draw upon during your entire experience.
I think something that I thought about but wasn't necessarily like head in my mind, but maybe it was to some degree, is that you are capable, that it is possible, that it is doable. And like I said a minute ago, I think a lot of people, they fail because they don't know that it's possible and they don't know how close they are to it being possible. And I think I never thought it was impossible. And that means if it's possible, then there's a way. And if there's a way, what is the way? I can make a way. I can find a way. So that's what I'll do.
It's amazing and it's remarkable that you have these epiphanies, these moments that I'm not sure other people understand or get to have in their experiences, but they always seem to happen before these big moments. So not only are you capable, but that I would add, from my perspective, allow yourself to be surprised and embrace that surprise. Because in your case, you had these moments that were these big, epic competition moments that you're like, I prepared for it. I could see it. I could see, oh, I didn't expect this. This is overwhelming, but it's kind of cool. Oh, man. And then when it happens, you go, okay, I was ready for it. And now I'm ready for even more. Because to me, I'm thinking, okay, we haven't even gotten to your main match for your actual championship. You've already had all of these incredible moments. And it was 2 matches going into that. But it was a wealth of experiences that helped you to get there, whether it's competition, whether it's your team, whether it's getting beaten by your team and having to come to an epiphany that that's good, get beat in the room and embrace that. Whether it's a one competition on one day of a giant spectacle to only come back and go, oh, my opponent is a former multiple champion of this division. Let's go. Keeping that perspective, keeping that guidance, and keeping that drive is amazing. Championship match. Talk us through that.
Wait, I had a quick comment. You said it seems like you discovered this in like these epiphany moments right before the fights. And I don't think that. I think I have faith that they exist all through the training camp. And then when I've believed in it and it is verified, it is a more excellent faith. It is proven. It's proven. I believed in this, and now it's so evident. It's so proven now. And then it's like, it was true. It was true. I found truth. I think, yeah, I just want to say that I knew it beforehand, and then to have it proven fact now it was like,
thank you for that. Again, it's important to be specific as to what that experience is. I'm listening and I'm gathering intel. So if there's something that is untrue, please correct the record. But I still think it's an epic record that should be for people to understand, because there is something to be said to people who want that and who sometimes don't get that, or that they come close and that they should be open and receptive to those moments, or that, sometimes that self-belief comes into self-actuality. So that is something that I think that you experienced. And I'm very happy that you're so honest about these approaches, because as you say it, you have these kind of giggling moments where you're smiling, and it's really just, it's awesome to see from my perspective and share in that understanding of it. So yeah, of course, please. I'm literally just trying to summarize things. So correct the record always and forever. Let's get to your championship match. Tell me all about it.
Okay, so can't relax. I have one more match. The tournament's not over. Right back to focus, right back to discipline. But of course, after fighting Gabby Garcia, nobody's force is gonna be anything. So again, and I knew Rafaela likes to do takedowns and likes to play on the feet. So I was excited because I get to try playing with another aspect of myself that I don't get to work with in competition as often. So I was again just really excited to see what we could do together. And there was no rush either, because it's a 20-minute match. Like I can fight my pace. There's time to feel each other out. You don't have to I need to make this happen right now. There's okay, I can just fight you. Like I have 10 minutes, I can just fight you, and then we go from there. So I feel like that's a lot of time was spent feeling each other out. And I was expecting her to be a lot more aggressive than she was. And I was ready for that. And I was excited for that. And then I was like, why is she not doing that? I know she would try to call her time, pull my head down. And I was just like, yeah. After Gabby, her strength didn't feel like anything. I mean, it was there, but I was just like, we got this. We got this. And she's not as strong as a man, too. I'm used to the guys at my gym, they're even being nice. They're not wringing my neck. And it's like, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine here. So we go through some exchanges. We almost get a couple in there. Really, I'm just enjoying this entire thing. I'm just yeah, we're good. What are you gonna try? I'm gonna try this. How about you? I'm just having so much fun with this. And the more I feel there's a couple times where I feel she got a little bit more aggressive, and I was yes, the more. So she ended up getting the one takedown, and I ended up just accepting it, going to guard. I want to guard anyways. This is great. So we played it. She was really, really defensive, and that was a little come on, let's fight. But as we went through a couple transitions, I got a sweep, got on top, I got a takedown, kind of really modified lateral throw butterfly sweep takedown, but it works. So the concepts were there. But yeah, there was one time I was trying to pass, or I was at least trying to lay on her a little bit, and she started trying to cut my face, do a smother. And I just, I started MMA, and I care about martial arts in a practical application to a fight. And the more it's like MMA or more like a fight, the more engaged I am. So when she started doing the smother, I was like, yeah. So I just remember smiling and tearing her hand off and being like, yes, let's go. I just remember being excited for it. And she saw that. And I honestly feel like I was taking her soul. She was looking at me like, holy crap, you are a scary person. You have issues. She's looking at me like that. And I was just like, ha, fine. I'm just going to keep going. I was just having so much fun, and I just wasn't going to give it up for anything. And then, yeah, you saw how the end of the fight went. She ended up, I swept and tried to pass. She turtled. I went to her back, and I knew I was going to get her back. I knew I was going to. And she was being super defensive. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to cook you. I'm going to climb up inch by inch, bit by bit. I'm going to cook you. And yeah, the minutes are counting down, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and I'm giving her back the smother from down there. Then she's kind of panicking just a little bit. Um, and she's still defending a lot. And so as it's getting to like 2 minutes, 1 minute, I'm like, okay, Amy, you really need to make this happen now. Like, you really need to go. So it's interesting that I tried enough things. I don't even know how I got my foot in. I just knew my body figured it out. Like my foot became intuitive, found the space, and I locked it up. And there was a second where she's trying to throw me off. She exposed her neck, and I wanted to just go dive right on her neck, but I wasn't sure I had the points yet. And I was like, okay, you can resist a choke for a second if I'm just starting it, but I can get these points in 3 seconds. So I was like, secure the win, secure the win. So I went, switched to the other side, secured the points, and then I knew I had the points, so I let her let me fall off to the side. And I had her arm trapped, and I was like, go ahead, posture. I'm gonna armbar you as soon as you do. And she was too smart. She kept her head down. She's like, I'm not doing that. And I was just like, ah, darn. I look over at the clock, and it's like, 15 seconds. And I was like, I got it. I'm gonna win. And that was even bad. I should have celebrated that earlier. It'd been like, I'm gonna freaking armbar you. I should have been that way, but it was good. Like, it was just a great experience.
You mentioned what it felt like overall. What happened after? Do you have vivid memories of the crowd? Do you have memories of what people told you after? Did you speak to Rafaela after? Like, what happens? Because very few people will experience that. And now, with that many people in a crowd, probably cheering you, especially many new fans who saw what you had with Gabby a little bit earlier that day. What was that visually for you?
Um, you asked me earlier in the year, like what I would imagine winning ADCC looked like. And I was like, okay, well, if I can put this in a visual, what do I see? I remember thinking that I would look up into the crowd and just let myself be a little stunned that there were so many people and that there was so much hype and not know where to place my eyes because there's just a blur of everything. And it was like that. I looked up, I remember they lifted my hand up, and I was just like, wow, there's so many people here. Wow. I turned around, there's more people, and I just kind of looked at everything and I got to see what everything looks like from down there in the center of the match, in the center of the mat, having just fought. I just got to see what everything looked. Glistening mats right here. There's a whole bunch of people on the sides who are looking at you, who are taking pictures of you. And this wasn't anything that I like. I didn't focus on any of these things, but like they're just there, and it's like, wow, this is an event. This is an experience. This is an experience we all have together. Like, I think being there with everyone just made me think this is possible because of everyone. This is possible because the athletes are here. This is possible because the promotion has made this. This is possible because people came to see this. This is not just a Amy moment. This is a moment we all share. That's what I remember thinking when I won.
That's super cool. I want to remind you of something else you said on the show. When we talked last, I was like, what would it mean to you? And you obviously answered with the, I've got to be there. It would be spectacular. I don't know that I could see it. But you said something that rang with me. And it was the first thing I thought about when I saw them raise your hand and Kenny did the post interview with you, which was that you had told me winning would prove that you don't have to be from a giant gym. Winning would mean that you were a product of a smaller gym and that it is possible to become a world champion from a smaller gym. You did that. Did you feel that? And did others who shared in that feel that with you?
I think so. At least the first thing that I didn't have a speech planned. The first thing that fell out of my mouth was completely genuine in that I just thought of my team and that I thought about how much time they had put into helping me train and to being there for me and in like various ways. And I just remember thinking like, thank you guys. You guys got me here. This isn't my experience only. This is ours. And I couldn't be more glad to have you. I just remember thinking that. So that's what fell out of my mouth.
I mean, it was great. I just saw you speak from the heart, and I saw you. You know, it was weird because I'm familiar with how you speak. So the version of you that I saw talking with Kenny Florian was you still processing it. So when he was interviewing you, you were like, "Hold on, yep, I'm going to say some stuff," because you were just in that moment of like, "Hold up, I'm still thinking this is rad," and it made me laugh, and it was very endearing, and it was really dope. So I definitely wanted to compliment you on that. We're going to wrap this up, but I do want to ask a couple very quick, like, understanding questions. The first of which being, what next? You know, we talked about this being the mountain that it is to climb. You did it, but you're not done. So what did you immediately start thinking is the next thing that you want to do?
Okay. I actually failed to answer your previous question completely. So let me
Okay.
answer
Sorry
that real
about that.
quick. No, you're good. You're good. Yes, I did accomplish something that a lot of people don't think is, or at least, yeah, I don't know what everybody thinks, but it's just what seems to be, that you can create your optimal training environment. You didn't have to go anywhere to find it, but that you can create it. And I was an example of that. And I believed in that. And that was one of the other things that I believed in and had faith in this principle. And then I did it because I believed there was a way to do it, and I did it. Not saying that it's not a good idea to go to a gym that is serious about competing, because that's a great idea. I just got my gym on board with being serious and competing. Like it's not like I just did that though. Like there's more people who expressed interest, and we created a program. My coach led the program to train us all together so that we could do this. All right, now your other question. What's next? um, Obviously keep competing, because just because you win one fight, you win one tournament, I am not personally going to be the person that lives in the past saying like, oh yeah, 5 years ago I won this and it was great, and everyone's like, great, move on. Like I want to find new heights. I want to keep learning, and so far I have a strategy and a recipe that is doing that, and I want to see just how far I can go. I feel like if I had to caption my jiu-jitsu journey in one statement, it would be, how far can I go? That's what I'd say. So we're just looking at more tournaments. Obviously, the worlds. I couldn't do Pan Am just because of this. Um, but yeah, and I'd like to maybe do one championship. Who's number one? Get in some fights. I would love to be a part of that. And I would love to go on tour teaching seminars and sharing jiu-jitsu and what I've learned with other people, and in turn learn about their culture so that I can become a less ignorant person.
Well, you're not very ignorant. Your open-mindedness and the stuff that you have learned is very present. So I love the embrace of trying new things and trying to learn new subcultures of jiu-jitsu and see people. So I'm a big fan of that. I want to give you the floor. I want to allow you the opportunity to thank anybody who helped you on this camp. I know you have mentioned them, but I definitely want to give you the opportunity to thank them, sponsors, anybody who you felt was impactful to making this happen.
Okay. So first and foremost, my team, my training partners who are in there with me every day, as many times as I can a week, just being a part of it. Like, thank you so much. You know who you are. Thank you. You mean the world to me. My coach, who adopted me into all of this, Eduardo Mori, and who's provided a lot of the ways, a lot of the opportunities for me to compete and to even go here. The head affiliation, Drysdale and Marcelo, and some of the teammates up there, they helped me with one or two trainings when I was down teaching the seminar. And I learned a lot, and I was very grateful for that. And they always were supportive and gave me good advice. And some of their advice has been like very instructional. Like it's just like one or two things here that was like, oh, thank you. Those little things, they add up and they make the world of difference on top of the 98% other things that I know. I just remember being really glad for my team. And then I had a couple sponsors who were also helping my preparation. FST Filtration, they're a new sponsor of mine. Wasatch Physical Therapy, they've always been a sponsor of mine. And in fact, the boss is my good friend, and I would even say a mentor, Ernie Chavez. He's taught me a lot, and they've sponsored me, and he trains, and I've been grateful for the things they've taught me in physical therapy to help fix my body, because I seem to always have one or two issues before each tournament, like I suppose everybody else does too. Arlo Gangestein, he's a good friend of mine. He's also a personal trainer, and so he's done some trainings for me, but mostly he just massages my neck. Yeah, those are all the people I would like to thank. I take a lot of pride in my people. I feel like I'm raised up by my gym, my friends, and my city. And I think that's a really neat kind of pride to feel. And if you're looking to reach out for a seminar or for advice, I'm totally open for that. You can reach me on Amy Campo on Facebook. You'll see my picture there. On Instagram at Amy Campo Fighter. And if you really want to get into contact with me, just hit me up on Messenger. I will just respond faster to Messenger than I will to Instagram.
Can affirm. She is good. She will get back to you. One of the easier people to schedule because at the very least, she is like a professional, and that is rare in jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to name names. I have to schedule a lot of people, but she is top notch. Amy, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to congratulate you once again for a job well done. I'm already looking forward to what's next, but it's so important to me to catalog what makes these moments special. And, you know, I was watching here, I got to watch on this TV as I was dying. I was sick when that was happening. And I was so just like, even a fever pitch dream of like, oh God, I'm so tired. Amy won? Oh, good job. Okay. I was cheering here for you. I was so happy, and it is so well deserved, but it is so great, especially when I know the parts of what it meant to you, and I could fill those gaps, and I could watch as somebody who has an appreciation for your work ethic and the jiu-jitsu that you put out for us. So big congratulations for you. Thank you for putting some excellent jiu-jitsu, and for a very big weekend for us, helped to make us look very good. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.